This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com. The only place to be in your pop culture world.
Come on, Rudy, come on. We call it the place to be. The place to be, yes, it's the place to be. Then I shall be there.
It is contagious. It is the place to be, and we are live each and every Monday.
Do you actually need a camera for tout, or is it like part of the program?
Tomorrow got no place to be.
Yeah, I like Big Dick myself.
I was just kidding. The man you see and the place to be.
Do you listen at all when I speak on the show?
I'm not the one who thrives on whining about carriages that are 3 inches from my fucking car.
So if it's too much for you and your big cock of the walk Knights of Columbus fat cat,
when does it end,
to bring
JR?
the carriage back to the fucking thing, then what do you want? What do you want?
When does it end?
You're making the poor guy making minimum wage while you're sitting there with our Mento going through the coffer. Party people in the place to be.
5 years. 5 years! We've been doing podcasts. And we have this. This is trash.
It's not Austin in LA. It's not Cabana in Chicago. It's not Conrad down in Alabama. Place to Be Nation presents Scott Criscolo and JT Rosero. This is the Place to Be Podcast.
To do worse than Josh Richard.
Place to Be Nation, welcome to the great episode of the one and only Place to Be Podcast. I am your host, Just Rosero, coming to you live here on this Monday evening inside the PTB studios. Joining me, as always, is my PIC in quarantine, Scott Criscolo. Scott, how are you?
Good evening, JR. Good evening, Place to Be Nation. Welcome to episode 548 of the longest running episodic motherfucking fuck the quarantine, fuck the virus gold standard, because that shit, this ain't stopping, even though everything else has stopped.
Now, there's a couple things that'll keep going. We're churning out podcasts. You're slinging scoops down to Saugatuck Suites on the weekend, so
That's
everything's
right.
good. And everything's good there.
Exactly.
Some stuff will never change.
Yeah. Well, food drives. Food's needed for everybody. So it was good. It was nice. It was nice to.
Did you get a good
we were
turnout?
gloved and masked. Yeah, for 4 or 5 hours, people donated. It was nice.
I'd argue Armento should always be gloved and masked, but that's.
Let me tell you, you get Armento walking up to you gloved and masked. He's scary as it is.
He's the only person that Corona's avoiding. Yeah, I'm all set. I'll go. I'm good. No, I'll go somewhere else.
He's got more than enough. I can't even fit in there.
I'll find someone else. I'm good.
Anyway, JR, it's good to talk to you as always. And how things? Oh, same as usual. Great.
Yeah. I'm looking at it. Just been watching a lot of old wrestling for podcast prep.
The closer we get to July, the closer I'm getting skittish.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll get there. We're opening up. We're all going to be
exactly
by next week.
No, I concur. I am excited tonight, though, because we have a debut in the Triumvirate this evening. Why don't you bring him in?
Sure. He is a co-host of the Brother Sister Rewatch podcast. You can hear on the Jenny Position feed and, of course, the feed itself for that show, but we only promote one here. He is co-host that show with his sister, Mare Bear. They break down The Office. They started season 6 that dropped earlier today, and that is Mr. Kevin Pittack. Kevin, how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Did I butcher your last name?
No, you got it. It's just 2 words put together. That's it.
Okay, very good. I only know you as Kev, Mare Bear, and Oz at this point.
Yeah. Oh man, I was torturing Oz this weekend. I saw him briefly, and he's just very easy to make fun of. I like making fun of people. I don't know, because there's a lot to make fun of on this card we're going to talk about tonight. Actually,
it is a rough one. We've been struggling through the back end of 90 here, and this is not turning the tide. Our last house show. We broke down with Sean Kidd was a rough one in September, and that trend continues. But Kev, why don't you take a minute and just catch us up on your history as a wrestling fan? Kind of when you started watching, were you watching at this time? Just any background you want to give us.
All right. Well, I was born around the time that Hogan slammed Andre, so I was just like 3 years old at this time. So I guess you could say I became a wrestling fan like 92-ish. Like I had a Ted DiBiase wrestle buddy. I knew Macho Man Jake Roberts. Like I watched kind of on the weekends and that. I had a knowledge of what was going on. I hated the new generation. All my cousins were fans. I couldn't stand Shawn Michaels. I hated his guts. Diesel was lame. Razor Ramon, whatever. But then like around 96, I'd say Psycho Sid. Pillman's Got a Gun, stuff like that when I was like 9 years old. That's like when I really came back, and I started watching WCW as well. And I mean, pretty much a fan up until about 2004. Came back in 2011 when The Rock came back, and in and out ever since. So I'm kind of all over the map. I have these peaks and valleys. But
so when you're out, though, do you follow along, or are you like a cold out? Like, do you not even know what's going on, or do you just like not really watch, but you kind of what's going on generally?
Yeah, it did. Like I over the last 10 years, I've watched WrestleMania every year, or the Rumble. Yep. Like I always make a point to watch those. But like from 2004 to 2011, I pretty much had no idea what was going on. But like since then, like when I'll take like a year or two off, not watch anything, but kind of still keep up with the news and what's going on, who's champion and that. But other than that, yeah, it's kind of rough to watch the last year or so, to be honest.
Well, definitely the last few months have broken me a bit because like I just can't, like I'll have, like right now I have it on the background because we're recording this, just whatever, there's nothing else on. But I can't get into the empty arena stuff has really broken me. Like I can't critique it. I can't care enough to like worry about storylines or who's winning. I agree. Like I just cannot. It's just like whatever. It's just
there's no life to it.
Yeah, they're just filling time at this point, right? Until they can go with fans again and be normal. So I just putting the effort into caring about what they're doing to me. Like I see it all over Twitter. Like this guy lost and they're doing. I'm like why? It seems aimless to take anything seriously right now that they're doing.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not saying it can't suck or be good or better. I know AEW has been fine, but as far as just like the booking and direction to me is just like hard to really get into.
Yeah, I mean, like I watched Mania, and both nights, believe it or not, because I mean that's a lot of investment. But I mean, if you're locked up in your house, it's really not a big deal.
Right.
But I mean, there was some things I absolutely loved on like the Mania card this year. There's some things I really didn't like, but like I thought Ziggler and Otis. Like for me, like I don't really watch much, so like this Otis guy comes out, he's just this big beefy guy, and he's like with this hot shot, and it was entertaining. I think it would have been great with a crowd, but sometimes they can nail things, sometimes it just falls flat,
Right. Yeah, that's definitely one match I think was really hurt by the lack of the crowd. There were a few times. I'm drawing. Bianca Belair's debut kind of would have been much hotter. With
it would have been awesome. Yeah, no, it would have been fantastic. And I mean, look, this Sunday we got a pay-per-view, which we're like, I think it's more like this Sunday will probably be more the novelty of a gimmick like Money in the Bank. And what they're going to do, like, are they going to crawl all the way to the root? Like, or are they going to start in the bottom floor, fight their way up staircases, and like throw each other through offices, and then get to the roof, and there'll be a briefcase sitting on a table?
It's going to end like the '95 Raw opening up on the tight.
Yeah, dancing on the ring and everything. But then after that, then the gimmicks end, like, because then there's nothing in June, and then the next pay-per-view is technically Extreme Rules in July, and by then, if we still don't have fans, when are you like? After a while, even like gimmicky stuff with no fans is going to lose its luster, like street fights and that kind of stuff is going to, when you have nothing to get into, what are you going to do? So
I can't really see there being fans for a while. I mean, unless they just run everything in Florida with like a third capacity, they're talking about that or something. But I mean, it's not going to be normal till, if we're in LA for Mania next year for normal, it'll be a win. That's where I'm going with right now.
I agree with you 100%.
Okay, well, now they're all depressed. Scott, why don't you tell us what we're talking about?
Let's
here
uplift
today.
things, Kev. No.
Yeah.
And you're like one of the few people. I don't think I've ever met. I think I know maybe two people, wrestling fans in my life, that legitimately have said out loud that they hate Shawn Michaels.
Oh my God.
He's all right, or I absolutely love him. But no one that like absolutely hates Shawn Michaels. It's very strange.
Aside from like 97, 98 pill popping Shawn Michaels, like I just can't stand it. Like even in the ring, I'm just like bored. I'm like, okay, he's flying around, whatever. Like I just never got into Shawn Michaels from a kid, and even as an adult, I watch and I'm just not that engaged for whatever reason. I don't know.
Interesting. Anyway, I thought that was funny. So tonight we are back at the offices on 33rd and 7th for October 19th, 1990, Madison Square Garden house show. This is a Friday night, actually. So usually we're, bouncing around, sticking on Mondays, but it's been floating around in different days of the week. So we are in October of 1990. As JR said, roster is a little rough, and some matches tonight will be a little rough. Before we get to Herb, Herb's a little light tonight. The rest of the roster was, as usual, Vince breaks the roster up into thirds, a third of the roster here at the Garden. We actually have a historical moment tonight in terms of venues. We'll get to that in a second. A third of the roster was at the Tingley Coliseum in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I'm trying to remember. I forgot who we had on. I don't know if it was Peter or somebody. If Tingley Coliseum is the pit.
It's not.
In
We went through this. Yeah, it was.
We did go through that, right? It's not. It's a different build. Okay. So anyway, Tingley Coliseum in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Here's your card. Jim Brunzell defeats Barry O. See what you got yourself into, Kev? Dustin Rhodes pinned the Genius. Ron Garvin defeated Black Bart. What was this, 1985 Crockett? Marty Jannetty defeated Paul Roma. Tito Santana defeated Boris Zhukov. Sergeant Slaughter defeated Nikolai Volkov. And in the main event, the Big Boss Man defeated the Barbarian, who was subbing for Rick Rude, because as we talked about JR last show, Rude started fading quickly.
He gone.
From here. He gone. Gotta be honest, not the greatest card there. I wouldn't pick a gem out of that card.
We don't have A, B, C, and C loops in 1990, the fall of 90. We have like G, F, and H loops.
L, W.
Oh, no, they got the N team tonight in Tingley.
God, Barbarian in the although Barbarian's awesome. We'll see his former tag partner tonight. The other card was actually in a memorable evening because we have a shiny new building tonight. And that is the first wrestling card at the Target Center in Minneapolis.
Oh, wow.
A brand new building, of course.
I would not have guessed that was open already at this point.
I know, right? I think, because this is the second year of the T-Wolves, 90-91. I think, right, because 89-90 was their first year, and I think they played the Metrodome? I don't think so.
I think they did, actually.
Yeah, they probably did. So they're debuting in the building here. So the first wrestling card ever held at the Target Center in Minneapolis.
Was it called the Target Center already at that point?
Yeah.
Wow.
According to
I didn't know Target was even open at that point.
Yeah, it's right now, right? Mr. Land and Mr. Cawthon, it is called the Target Center. Of course, it was the home to the Timberwolves. And I don't know if the North Stars, I think, were still playing at the old building they used to play at. Let's see. According to Wiki,
they played at the Metrodome for 2 years and then Target Center since.
Yeah, and it's pretty much been the Target Center the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. I wonder where the North Stars played. They must have played in the old building. Anyway, so here's the card. Screen popped up. This card's definitely better than the one in Albuquerque. That's for sure. Okay, here we go. All right. Paul Diamond pinned Jim Powers by using the tights for leverage. Battle Cat. This is weird. Battle Cat pinned Pez Watley, who was subbing for Boris Zukov with a flying body press because Boris Zukov had to be somewhere else.
God.
Makes no fucking sense. Saba Simba pinned Buddy Rose with an airplane spin. Oh, my God. Saba Simba got him up for an airplane spin? Wow.
Yeah, Tony Atlas. He's a strong guy.
Fuck Tony Atlas, yeah. The Bushwhackers with the Crusher, who was in attendance on this night. Of course, Crusher, former AWA legend in AWA Old Haunt. Defeated Pat Tanaka and Mr. Fuji. When Butch pinned Fuji, Fuji was subbing for Salto, who he must have been pretty much gone by then, right? Obviously, because he's been subbed out a ton every time we talk about it. So I think Orient Express is down a guy right now. Earthquake pinned Jim Duggan. Jimmy Snuka pinned the Black Demon. And in the main event, big shock, the Ultimate Warrior teaming with the Legion of Doom defeats Demolition, which is probably like the 50th time in the loops that match has been. So there you go. So the Target Center, home of the T-Wolves, making its debut in wrestling on this evening in 1990. JR, to you, sir. What do we got for notes and Herbits?
Okay, well, we have nothing from the Greeny notes here because we're only 6 days removed. We haven't had any TV. That Saturday Night event aired late on the Saturday. Nothing really happened the next day, I guess. And here we are now on the Friday. So nothing going on there. We'll get back to that. But we do have one batch of Herb notes tonight. Light night, but he's talking about a lot of stuff, so let's dive in. Rumors have it that Lex Luger is unhappy with his contract with the NWA and he has to renegotiate. They say that Lex is so upset he's threatening a jump to the WWF if his salary isn't hiked. So I guess it gets hiked, but not for too much longer. Herb on the case. A while back, I think I mentioned that Ricky Steamboat was going to appear in Japan in a match against KJ Muto, the Great Muta. This match took place, and Muta pinned Steamboat in 20 minutes with a moonsault. I also mentioned Andre the Giant would work in Japan, teaming with Stan Hansen against Giant Baba and Abdullah the Butcher, and Andre pinned Abdullah to win that match. Rumors on Halloween Havoc have Lex Luger losing the U.S. title to Stan Hansen and Doom losing the belts to Ric Flair and Arn Anderson. NWA Casualty List, Robert Gibson, Jimmy Garvin, Harley Race. And on the way out, Samoan SWAT Team and Thunderbolt Patterson. And on the way in is Kamala. I don't think Kamala ever actually arrives there in the late 90 NWA, but
I don't think so.
WWF has hit some hard times. Post-WrestleMania slump that has been the standard the last few years is extended to the tail end of the year. Gates are low, talent is old. The only star left is still Hulk Hogan. Vince has decided to trim the fat. As a result, Survivor Series is the last date for the following wrestlers: Jim Neidhart, Nikolai Volkov, Greg Valentine, and the Honky Tonk Man. And the good news here is that Vince may actually push Brett as a singles wrestler. Now, I know the Neidhart one was fairly well known, right? Because weren't they going to lose to the Rockers and they ended up keeping them? Like, that's right around this time, right? We get the fake title change. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
So I'm guessing that was
snap
legit.
belt, right? The snapped ring belt or the rope, ring rope. Yeah.
Nikolai, I think, is gone pretty much after that. I don't think he's around too much longer. Maybe a bit, but so that was probably accurate. Valentine does hang around for a while, and Honky's in for a little bit longer too. So I don't think he's fully gone. So
yeah, Valentine lasts deep into 91 because he's at SummerSlam. So
he's
he
in
doesn't
until 92 almost, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the 92 Rumble, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Honky, I think Honky's gone by the Rumble, so maybe he ends up extending. Maybe they roll him month to month, but so all right, not too bad for Herb here. He's on. I'll give him the Neidhart one for sure. Besides just trimming talentless talent, Jesus, from the organization, Vince has reduced the number of weekly arena shows to 8. For the long while, WWF has worked with 3 touring lineups: the A Team, something like a Hogan Earthquake; the B Team with the Warrior and LOD against Demolition; and the C Team, something like a Rhodes DiBiase main event. Vince has axed the C Team. Non-prelim matches from what would have been C Team cards will be shuffled into A and B. I guess they just have fewer cards with more good matches to draw more. The problem is that Vince has fostered an attitude with his fans that just want to see the stars and not necessarily wrestling. Added more wrestling to the card may not increase the crowds if there's no stars, like a Hulk Hogan. To top it off, Vince has lost a couple of big names this week. Actually, we can pause there. I mean, I think the strategy, it's funny that you hear him talk about in 1990, because I think it's something that rolls on even to recent times, right, where they try and build it around all the stars or around the promotion and not necessarily the wrestling. So fans aren't coming out just because it's wrestling in his mind. They're coming out because they want to see the stars. I guess I'm kind of torn on that, and I think it depends on the area. So for me, like here, like by the time I started watching, we weren't getting a ton of cards in Providence, but I would go just because it was wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that really was a phenomenon in general. Maybe it was for the broader audience of casual fans, but I think anyone who's like a wrestling fan probably were going to wrestling cards more than for draws. Kevin, what do you think during this time?
Oh, I definitely. I think especially in places like the Midwest or the Rockies area, like in New Mexico, like that card you read earlier. Like, I think people like that would just go because it was a wrestling show. They probably didn't have that many opportunities to go see those things. They'd probably be pickier in the bigger markets. They'd probably want the Hogans, the Warriors, and whatnot.
I mean, I was definitely going. My house shows at the New Haven Coliseum, I was definitely going. They were still popping up every other month. But, I mean, you could tell. I mean, look at this plate of shit that poor Albuquerque got. So clearly Vince's business thinking kind of makes sense here because, I mean, he's got some. I mean, it's rough.
I mean, at some point it's going to be diminishing returns, right? So it's probably a hybrid. Like, at some point some of these C cards just aren't going to get it done. But I don't know if you need to have like mega stars up and down the card, maybe one as a draw. But I can see this theory. I can see the ABC stuff work in 88, 89 when you had a really deep roster, but we've talked about it. We're thin right now.
Well, you think about it. Think of 2 names that well, we don't know about the 2 names that we'll talk about on our card tonight. But notice on those 2 cards, I didn't say 2 names. I didn't say Hulk Hogan's name, and I didn't say Randy Savage's name.
Yep.
Now, I don't think they were hurt.
I think Savage is hurt because he's out for a bit here. He hasn't really been on doing much. I'm pretty sure he was dinged up.
And we don't have and no Hogan in either of those cards either. I mean, no disrespect to the Boss Man by any stretch, but Boss Man Barbarian as your main event. I mean, it's a fun match, but and we'll see it in a few months. But is it a main event match at a house? I don't know.
Well, it is in New Mexico.
And it was supposed to be Rude, which was a pretty big feud.
True. That is true. I need to put that in. Yeah, you're right about that. That's true. So Boss Man Rude would have been a pretty good main event.
Yeah, that's fine, especially with what they had boiling.
So I think
that's true.
Like something big, like the lack of heels. I mean, outside of like Earthquake, and you said Savage is hurt. Like DiBiase's always going to be there or whatever, but like I just feel like there's not that many top level heels.
Yep.
Like Warriors with going against Demolition, yeah.
And Demolition's cooked.
Yeah, exactly.
They're totally fried right now. Yeah.
All right, to top it off, Vince lost a couple of big names this week. The first, less big one, is Akeem quit to spend more time with his family in Africa, and he puts in quotes of the winky face. The second is Rick Rude. Rumor here is that he's not happy with a share of the SummerSlam pie, and he quit. Akeem wasn't really involved in any program, so his loss will be no big deal. But Rude was set to feud with the big boss man. Word has it that either Haku or Bobby Heenan will replace him at arena shows over the next 2 months. And, of course, he was dead on with both of these guys. They're both on the way out. Hakeem gets subbed out of Survivor Series. We covered that, Scott, in a previous show. With the loss of Rude and Akeem, the firing of other wrestlers, Vince hasn't cured the problem of not having any stars besides Hogan. That would seem to be the reason for the rumors that Vince is going on a big talent raid of the NWA, and perhaps those disgruntled Luger rumors are coincidental. What will become of Rude? There's talk he'll be joining the UWF, but he failed to show up. The latest word is that he made a stop in Atlanta, ventured to NWA headquarters. Rumors already have him joining the Horsemen in the NWA, since Ric Flair and Arn Anderson are on the outs. Is that legit or an angle after having a locker room brawl? Never heard of that one. In an attempt to produce a new star, Vince will be putting Roddy Piper back into circulation. Piper will get a big push. There's already talk of resuming a feud with him and Jimmy Snuka. Snuka looks like a heel to be with that beard. So Piper does get back in the ring a bit here into 91, not a ton. And Snuka does not go heel. Perhaps in another attempt to produce a new star, Vince will be giving Shane Douglas a slight push after he's been a jobber for a while. More wrestlers on a shaky ground are Coco Beware of the Bushwhackers. Coco was fined for insubordination recently and may have to be axed. That's his Survivor Series. I think it's a pretty famous story that lived on through Wrestling with Shadows when they interviewed him. Or is it Beyond the Mat? One of those. I think it's one of those where he talks about it and had an issue with Vince and got fired and then comes back. The Bushwhackers are upset with each other after Luke accidentally nailed Butch in a match. This led to a locker room brawl between the two of them. Okay. Finally, we've all wondered how Hogan Flair or Warrior Sting matches would go. Well, any match is possible because the NWA is following the leader of the EF and marketing wrestling dolls. So there you go. That'll do it for this week's Herb Kunze Wrestling Tidbits. Look forward to more on our next episode. And now we'll head inside Madison Square Garden with Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan are ringside talking of a couple matches upcoming tonight. And that brings us to our opener, the aforementioned Shane Douglas taking on the Brooklyn Brawler. Shane Douglas, Troy Allen Martin, born November 21st, 1964 in Pennsylvania, trained by Dominic DiDucci, of course, alongside with Mick Foley. He started wrestling, used the character of Troy Orndorff, the fictional nephew of Paul Orndorff. I always love those fake wrestling relationships so that they
Troy Orndorff.
Just give guys random names
terrible.
And pretend that they're related to someone to get them over.
That's terrible. Troy Orndorff. That's awful.
Come on, Troy. He actually wrestled Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff in the debut episode of Wrestling Challenge using his real name. Wrestled Randy Savage on Superstars as well as Troy Martin. Became a fan favorite in the UWF under the name Shane Douglas, which was given to him by Eddie Gilbert and Missy Hyatt. Douglas' last name was inspired by Michael Douglas, who had just appeared in Wall Street. Douglas defeated Gilbert for the World TV title in August of '87, ended up losing it to Terry Taylor. Signed with WCW, retained his Shane Douglas name, was put in a tag team of skateboarders known as the Dynamic Dudes with Johnny Ace. Jim Cornette, managing the Midnight Express at the time, decided to manage the duo to help get them over. When Eaton and Lane and Storyline did not approve, forced a match. Of course, we all know what happened there. The Dynamic Dudes broke up in 1990 after Ace began competing progressively more for All Japan. Jim Cornette also says the end of the Dudes came when Douglas went over his head to Jim Herd to have a finish change to make him look stronger. Cornette, part of the booking committee, washed his hands with him after. Douglas left, worked the Indies, and signed a deal in mid-90, debuted on June 18th on Primetime, defeated Bob Bradley, made his challenge debut in a tag match of Wrestling Challenge with Mark Thomas, losing to the Orient Express. And here gets our old friend, the Brooklyn Brawler. Old reliable. Douglas strikes first, works the arm as Bobby says Brawler struggles separating the street from the ring. Pretty good insight. Gorilla says ask Bobby why he's here instead of prepping Mr. Perfect. Douglas keeps in control as Gorilla shits on Bobby's taste in women. Douglas fights through a right hand, keeps the heat coming, goes back to the arm. Brawler eventually catches Douglas coming off the ropes, hits a backbreaker. Bobby rips him for not covering. Brawler slowly gets to work on the back now. Hits another backbreaker, stomps away, goes to a bear hug. Bobby says Brawler's still on retainer in case he needs him, which is a deep cut right there. Gorilla says Bobby and DiBiase both have a bunch of stooges on the payroll. Brawler releases, but Shane floats over a backdrop and tries a slam. Brawler falls on him for a near fall. Brawler goes back to the bear hug and then keeps working him over. Shane lands a back elbow and clothesline, flurry of punches, buries a knee lift, and eventually gets a sunset flip for the win. About as paint by numbers as you can get, but at least it kept moving, didn't overstay its welcome. And Douglas has potential, and there's room to grow. There's room on the roster, so you wonder if he'll be able to put it together in this run. We'll find out. The Brawler's still the Brawler. I'd like to hear Peter Winston at some point weigh in on what he thinks of Brawler being on retainer with Bobby Heenan. That seems like a very Peter Winston thing to discuss. So Sky went star and a half on this one.
I went star and a half as well. Your match time is 10:19. The one thing I really noticed about this match, WWF's got to start freshening up their refs. I mean, they get these old guys and they're moving really slow and they're rolling around. And I know Bobby's like kind of half breaking balls more for the gimmick, but they are pretty slow. The match is fine. I mean, brawler's brawler, whatever. Shane Douglas is a good hand. I mean, obviously he was very vocal in his time in NWA, and we'll see that a lot through the rest of his career. But otherwise, the match was fine, Kev. Nothing really crazy. Announcing was solid. Crowd was pretty hot. So, solid opener.
Yeah, I gave it 1 star. It was a 10-minute match with a 3-minute bear hug spot. So, I don't know. It's just, it was what it was. It was technically fine, just a little on the boring side. The one thing that stood out to me about Shane Douglas, like, he has a good look. But like he's wearing those bright orange, like the neon orange colors, and I know JT's been talking about that, like 1990 with the bright explosion of colors and that.
Yeah,
like he kind of like seemed to embody that. And I don't know, Shane Douglas is kind of okay when he's not saying like fuck and Dick Flair and stuff like that. He's just kind of whatever. But it was fine. It was a fine opener.
It's funny watching the two eras of Shane right now concurrently with where he's at in ECW.
That is true, yeah. Right.
Out clubbing in New York City with his broads and whatnot. All right, let's move on. As J Fave extraordinaire, Coco Beware hits the ring. He's obviously on probation, I guess, for whatever he had going on backstage, taking on the Warlord in the role he knows best. That is for Coco. Warlord's push continues on. He's stuck in neutral a bit, though. Flying solo tonight, no slickster. Coco dances out to a nice welcome, except for Bobby, who calls Frankie a pigeon, and asks Gorilla if he'd like him regular or extra crispy. Warlord is fucking massive here. Gorilla asked Bobby why he chose Barbarian over Warlord, which is an interesting question. We don't really get much of an answer there, but that was a cool talking point. So let's start with Coco. Uses speed to duck and dodge. Warlord just shoves him into the corner. Coco finally comes at him with headbutts and right hands and an axe off the middle rope. Warlord slugs into control, but Coco comes back with punches, gets an eye poke. Coco tries to choke, but Warlord breaks it with ease, lifts Coco to a choke of his own, and drops him to the mat. Warlord clubs the back as Bobby leaves the booth to go prep Mr. Perfect. Warlord stays on the back, including a violent whip to the corner, and then a deadlift bear hug. He holds on to that for a minute until Coco claps free. Gorilla says Warlord eats, did either of you guys note this, how many calories he eats a day?
It's 20,000, right?
Yes, 20,000 calories a day. That is intense. 20,000. Which I think is actually, I think it's doable if you like work, you know, like I've heard football players that eat like I think like kind of near that. But I mean that's a shitload of calories. Like you're really going to be working out or juicing up. And I'm guessing he's not eating that much. Warlord eats a boot on a charge. That may as part of the calories. Coco follows with a missile dropkick for 2. Coco charges wildly. Warlord catches him with a stun gun for the win. I actually dug this one. Coco had a lot of fire and aggression. Warlord's offense was fine, didn't lag. Again, kept things moving, showed off his power, and the finish was quick. It was a good big versus little showcase for Warlord, Kev. I went 2 stars.
I went 2 stars too on it. What I liked about it is there was another bear hug spot, but they worked it better. Like Warlord looked like he was like trying to squeeze the life out of him. Coco was struggling. There was the hope spot where the fans got into it. It was just like a good showcase match for Warlord. I liked it.
I did too. 2 stars. Your match time 8:07, and I'm going to say this a lot over the next probably year of shows. I contend that I think the Warlord would have been a great, maybe not a pay-per-view number 1 contender, but I think on the house show circuit, I think he'd have been a great. You know, if we're sitting here scrounging for Warrior opponents, why not give the Warlord a house show title shot? I mean, he's Warrior size. We're not looking for fucking work rate extraordinaires here, just 2 big hosses. I think the Warlord could have been a really good house show number 1 contender for Warrior and down the line of future world champions.
Yeah, you could argue they could have used him instead of this demolition thing with the Road Warriors. Warrior could have feuded with him, or even Barbarian coming off of SummerSlam. You could have done Barbarian if you wanted to keep the Heenan family thing going. They would have at least been giving him something, giving him a title feud instead of just being in that 6-man. So I looked it up, by the way, because it's been fresh in my head. Mekhi Becton, the draft pick for the Jets, recently upped his caloric intake to 6,000 calories a day. And
oh Jesus!
And
wow.
he was eating like, I don't know, it was like under 3,000. I listened to, there was a story on the podcast about it. He got like with a nutritionist, and based on what he was doing and the lean food he's eating, and a lot of water. So, and that's a lot. So I don't think Warlord's eating 20,000 if he's eating 6,000.
I will say the B-roll they showed for Becton during the draft, where he's like shoving cars and stuff. It was like Mark Henry's greatest hits. It was fantastic to watch.
Yeah, he ate the cars. No,
that dude is a fucking freak. He is a freak of nature. Yeah. So anyway, I don't think Warlord's putting 20. I don't know what you could even eat honestly to get to 20,000. I mean, it's.
I know, really.
Eco Pro.
Yeah, you're not even
loaded with calories, pal.
Yeah, you're just opening the top and chewing the powder. you're not even mixing it with anything.
Well, it's like to piggyback what you said, Scott, about Warlord being like a content. I think he's like central casting for like a Saturday night's main event. Mm-hmm. Like kind of like push him on Superstars or something like that, and then have a big blow off on Saturday night or something like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, we're sitting here scrounging for fucking heels. You got guys right here, and you don't have to build the Warlord from scratch. I mean, he was on a tag team that had a tag team title shot at a WrestleMania. So we're not talking about some hump. I mean, no, is this a guy that would be a champion in main event of Mania? No, probably not. But you're looking to fill holes here. Vince is struggling with the roster, and you got a guy here that you could throw out on the B circuit or whatever. Even wrestling like Tornado for the IC belt or something. Just another heel that's very imposing, and you got a good manager. Same thing, JR, you said with Barbarian. There are heels here. Stop wasting them on guys like Coco. Mm-hmm. Give them up the chain a little bit. Have Warlord beat up Duggan or something. Somebody with some value. Yeah. And boost him a little bit instead of sticking Warrior in the 6-man feud. You should have, because LOD honestly should be wrestling Demolition alone. We've gone through this whole conversation already.
And it's fine if you wanted to do it for that one 6-man event because it is a star power match, right?
Right.
But to have them work the whole circuit with that, you probably could have gotten 2 matches out of it and covered the depth, like we're saying. Like you put Warrior against one of these guys, LOD against Demolition. Now you get 2 matches drawn on the card instead of jamming them into one.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So 2 stars for me. Fun match. Warlord looked good. Coco's always a good bumper. And and crowd's into it. I think Warlord's a good heel, as I said, and I'm going to keep touting him as we move ahead. But 8:07 your match time. Solid second match.
All right.
Neither of these guys are the Warlord. At least the size, anyway.
Lord Al is in the crowd, says Mr. Perfect is beside himself with anger and dedication. I don't know if you can be beside yourself with dedication, but he's the perfect place for the perfect man to execute the perfect plan to deal with the Texas tornado. Tornado will be sucked into a vortex of violence never seen before. And God bless Al. I mean, he's nailing these riddles. I'm guessing this was airing live on MSG. He's like fucking Dr. Seuss out there. Like he's not flubbing any of it. So.
Right in the crowd too, with people like yelling in his ear and everything. Yeah, I was very impressed.
Nailing it. All right, next match is indeed the Texas Tornado defending his Intercontinental title against Mr. Perfect. And this is Kerry Von Erich's MSG return after a 10.5-year absence. So, a fun note there. Early in the card for them, SummerSlam rematch, great entrance for Bobby and Perfect. Nice pop for Tornado. He's all smiles. Looks good with a giant robe and the belt wrapped around his waist. Lord Al hops in the booth to join Gorilla with Bobby at ringside. Perfect jumps him before the bell and unloads as he's tangled up in his robe, viciously clotheslining him to the floor. Perfect goes out and pummels him some more, slides back in. Kerry pulls him out, slugs away, drops him with a hard right hand. Perfect comes in but gets chucked back out as he's rattled. Back inside, Kerry works the arm, but Perfect rebounds off a whip and hooks a sleeper. Al says being IC champion is a lifelong goal for Kerry Von Erich. Probably not. It probably just getting his next hit would be the lifelong goal. Von Erich busts out of the hold, gets a sleeper of his own, but Perfect quickly twists free, lays in a stiff chop and lands a neck snap. Perfect goes to a chinlock, slugs away as Al says he's improved his control after the blistering start. Kerry reverses a whip. Perfect slams into the ref, and Kerry charges and Perfect ducks. He clotheslines the ref again, who drops hard after 2 blows. Perfect hits a nice clothesline, takes Von Erich into the Perfect plex, but there's no ref. Bobby is pissed. Perfect lets go and yells at the ref, takes off the turnbuckle pad, slams Von Erich into it. Perfect covers and has him down for over 20 seconds as the ref slowly climbs over and finally counts, but Von Erich kicks out. Good dramatic moment there. Von Erich comes firing back and hits a discus punch, lands a second one that sends Perfect over the top to the floor. He follows him out and they trade blows until we get a double count out. Bobby and Perfect rant and rave after the match, demanding a rematch with a competent ref. And this was fun. Actually, I liked it better than SummerSlam. Even though the end was weak and a little convoluted with the ref bumps, we keep this going because the feud's going to continue. We're going to get a rematch. We did get the Perfect visual fall to keep him strong, and he can claim, gives him a claim for the rematch. Tornado's feisty here as well. Perfect was aggressive. Just fun. It was an engaged crowd. The feud is rolling, and better finish, I think, would have bumped us up a little bit. But all in all, I enjoyed it, Scott. 2.5.
Quite fitting, JR, that you would say 2 blows in a Kerry Von Erich match.
Many blows.
Because he probably heads over to Hell's Kitchen after to see if he can meet his guy for the 2 blows. Of course, anytime on the history.wwe.com where Landy and Graham put 10.5 years, of course I have to look it up. So officially, Kerry Von Erich pinned Jose Estrada at 10:49 with a sunset flip out of the corner, March 24th, 1980. Madison Square Garden. So there's your 10.5 years, and he had one match, and that was it. It was Kevin was there the month, so it must have been some talent switch between Fritz and Vince Sr. because Kevin was there the month before, and Waldo was doing some stuff in like 78, 79. So
where's Waldo?
Where is Waldo? He was at the Garden, but Kevin wrestled in February, and Kerry's wrestling here in March of 1980. So he's back for the first time since then. Your match time 8:50. I gave this 2.5 stars. You know, it's funny, JR, we were talking to I'm guessing it was Peter, because I think we were talking about match lengths for Kerry. I think it was Peter. It was either Peter or D'Amato. I'm not sure which one. But we were talking about, like, Kerry match lengths.
Yeah, it was Peter.
And, 8:50, yeah, it was Peter. 8:50 for this one. And honestly, really not that bad. Kerry really kind of held his own. I think he might have actually been clean for this match.
This is definitely his best stuff. They fight again next month. And he's in there. And it's not perfect Kerry to me either. He's working hard. So I don't know if he was ever clean or sober, but at the very least, he's less fucked up than he is later. And he seems at least focused early on in this run here because he's delivering some decent stuff.
Yeah, no, this match really isn't that bad. And him and Perfect are dancing pretty well. I'm not surprised that Perfect gets the long count. Obviously, he's the more long-term, commodity. And, you got to keep that hot. For future shots. But I enjoyed it. I kind of liked Alfred, the whole build that Perfect's frustrated and he's kind of losing his mental focus because he can't believe he, lost at SummerSlam. And I like how they're kind of building that for him. But for the most part, Kev, solid match. Perfect always looks good. But Kerry, maybe he's 10% high instead of 80% high like he normally is. A little lucid anyway. And delivers a pretty solid title match.
Yeah, I gave it 3 stars. I loved everything from the Finkel introductions right down. I mean, Lord Al on commentary was really good, actually. Like, he was getting really excited, almost kind of like Tony Schiavone in the Nitro era. I kind of had vibes. Like, he was just getting really into it. And what I really liked was just both guys were selling. Like a punch looked like they were taking a gunshot.
Right.
Like the crowd was so into it because these guys were working so snug and they looked like there was like legitimate heat between them, and it just all worked. Like the whole package was just great. I loved it.
It's really good. And it's funny because I stopped myself earlier when we were talking about heels and because Perfect had been played out early in the year and he's a guy that maybe they could have used again against Warrior. I don't know if it would have worked. But then I was thinking about it. I'm like, wow, that would have taken him out of this feud, and I've actually enjoyed it quite a bit.
Oh yeah,
with him chasing Tornado. So I think I'd leave him here. And I think these guys actually had low-key star power that they could have been the draws on a card. You could argue maybe they were here. But I think they're guys that could have been touring around. And this is a decent... Like, if you stick this on tour in the Southwest, that's a pretty good draw.
Especially with Kerry being from Texas and everything. I mean, that would have been perfect. And I think, like, the thing is, like, you see Bobby out there with his pink deep V shirt, and you think the fans are just into it because they're booing him and that. They were behind Tornado. Like, they really like the guy. He just had that innate charisma. Like, he comes out with like that horse face looking like an idiot and he's got a mush mouth and everything, but the fans loved him for whatever reason,
It's too bad that by the time they got him, he was a shell. Like, his foot was fucked up, and which it had been for a while, and he was just so gone. Because, I mean, he really could have been one of the stars they needed in this stretch where they were, I mean, Herb was talking about lack of star power. They just brought in him and the Road Warriors. I mean, like, that's decent names. It's just that Von Erich just didn't have, I guess you could trying to think of a guy to compare it to. I had someone on the top of my head, but JYD maybe, like in '84. You know, like a name guy that could have really done something, but was just didn't have a lot left in the tank. JYD has a little bit more than Von Erich does when he came in, but just something along those lines where he could have been such a big star. He had the look and the crowd loved him, and just ends up, I just think they completely lose all faith in him because of his issues. But yeah, no, this is a good one. I dug it a lot, and I'm enjoying the feud. All right, we get a Survivor Series promo for November 22nd, and then we happen to slip into some kind of time portal back to 1986. And not a good time in 1986, the hellacious time of 1986. Because our next match is Special Delivery Jones taking on Iron Mike Sharp. And, I mean, the roster's thin. I mean, really thin if we're getting this in 1990. I don't know if it was a fill-in match or just know that they had, the 3 shows going on, but there had to be someone else they could pull out here besides this. Like, stick Shane Douglas in a mask and make him Doctor. Like, something had to be better than this,
Dr. X.
Give me that. SD back in the Hawaiian shirt. He's out of the Phillies garb. Sharp stalling as always as Breen comes back to the booth. Jones works the arm. Bobby rants about the ref and the finish from the last match. Keeps working the arm as Sharp does the shtick of the rope breaks and the stalling resets and on and on. This is really just a backdrop for them to talk about the IC title match. I would have preferred if we just looked at Gorilla and Bobby in the commentating booth instead of having another match and just let them talk about what just happened. Like, that would have been more like primetime style. Would have been much more entertaining. Jones goes to the leg, and Sharp is just bailing after every fucking move. Sharp takes over, meanders through some offense that Jones awkwardly bumps around for. Bobby's still ranting. Gorilla's tweaking him. The crowd has turned on this completely as Sharp works the arm into a neck vice. As boring as it gets. I mean, this would have been boring in 86, even more boring now. No need to have this out here for as long as we're getting it. Bobby says the ref looks like he's walking around looking for change, which he probably was, honestly. SD punches back into control, gets 2 on a slam. Jones lands a headbutt for 2, and even the fucking ref is counting slow as shit, like you mentioned earlier, Scott. Sharp loads his forearm pad, clobbers Jones for the win. What a waste of time. I mean, why bother? This sucked in 86. It sucks now. It's boring. It's basic. It's played out. Why is Mike Sharp getting wins? And if you have to have these guys on the card, why are we pairing them against each other? Like, why not do Coco versus Mike Sharp out of the intermission or something to get the crowd hyped and let Jones put over Warlord? Why are we getting them in a match where Sharp's going to get a win? Like, this is stupid. Give Coco a win. Anything would have been better. Anything than this dud Rooney that we had to deal with on this card. To kill what we had decent momentum building. It's not a lot of depth, but Shane Douglas, that was a fun opener. The Warlord gets put over. Then we have a nice hot IC title match. And then, all right, sorry, guys. Dealing with this shit. Scott, how long was this thing?
Do you really want to know?
I'm going to say 11 and a half minutes.
Not that bad. 10:56.
Oh, Christ. I mean,
Jesus.
Pretty close. All right, Kev, what'd you think of this shitbag?
This was literally like 10 minutes of Mike Sharp going, just like yelling in the ropes. It's just
awful.
It was awful. I told you guys, this came on and I thought I got a corrupted copy of the file. I swear to God, I thought this was spliced with an old house show. It's just not good. It's a dud.
Yeah. Is there anything else we need to say? Pretty much no. No. I mean, this is not only do we have to deal with a match from 1985. I mean, you're being generous, JR. I'm thinking even 85, but yeah, 86 would work too. But 10:56? You fucking kidding me? 10:56 of this? 3:56 is too long. 10:56? My God.
The worst is that they have the bullshit ending.
Right.
Where he loads the thing. Like, they couldn't even have a clean ending for this.
It's ridiculous. And you could tell that SD hasn't been doing it because he's looking, speaking of a guy, looked like he was having 60,000 calories. Good grief. Oof. You look a little pleasantly plump.
Maybe the Warlord's eating him. That's where he's getting the calories.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, this is fucking terrible. I mean, oof, this is not good. This is not good.
There had to be someone else that could pull in for this. I mean, somebody.
Yeah, had to have been. I mean, anybody? I mean, fuck.
Or give Tornado and Perfect an extra 5 or 6. You know what I mean? Like, whatever.
Yeah, or ask Kerry to have his brother come. Is Kevin wrestling? Have him come down and do a 1-day contract to wrestle Iron Mike Sharp. I mean, anything. It's oof.
Do a brother.
I mean, you could
show.
tell that SD
Could
Jones
have
is
done a
done.
show.
Yeah, why not? Pump up. pump up Dusty and DiBiase or something. I don't know, something.
Yeah.
This is. Oof. I mean, you could definitely tell that SD hasn't been doing much. I mean, when was the last time we saw him? Probably.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. We can check, probably. But like, I don't. Yeah, oh, for us, yeah. Well, I feel like he snuck in a match in '89 too, or something.
Maybe.
I feel like we had the same discussion, but like, I don't know if he was working just fill in, or if they just needed depth, so they bring him in. I don't know. I'm trying to check really quick here to see if he had worked any other.
Anyway, well, you're looking for that. I mean, and Iron Mike Sharp. I mean, we've seen him in and out. I'm sure he's been on the Cindy circuit. I mean, we also haven't. I mean, we're also taking into account that we haven't seen SD, doing challenge.
He hasn't been on TV at all, really. He's around during this time doing some sub work. Faced a Genius a few times. He did make TV on October 14th challenge. He teamed with Reno Riggins against Rhythm and Blues, and then he works. It looks like maybe they brought him in for like one quick round. And this match actually airs on primetime on November 12th.
Oh.
And
gotta watch it twice.
It looks like that's it for him. Yeah, basically a handful of matches in the fall. They had him work, and then makes those couple TV matches.
Yeah, Vince, you gotta. This is rough. This is really rough. You got to bring these guys back. Not only to bring these guys back but to fill 11 minutes on an MSG show.
Yeah, not good.
Not good.
Why not let them go 3 minutes and give that extra 6 to Tornado, or to 7, whatever.
Yeah, or spread the wealth a little bit. It's or put it in the main event. We'll talk about the length of the main event later. I saw that length and I lost my mind. That length. We'll get to that at the end, but.
All right. Well, here we go. The Fink says we're about to get a treat, and he introduces Rhythm and Blues to sing their hit song. Gorilla's not happy. He says they get a chance at the titles tonight. They shouldn't be doing this. Hockey Tonk tees it up, and away we go. He sings the whole song. So again, filling a ton of time. Hammer's slightly improved. I think it's all the reps are paying off for him, all the practice. Gorilla says, "Where's Jimmy and the Honkettes?" A deep cut with the Honkettes. Hammer's really jamming on the guitar, which is pretty funny. He seems more into it than he did in the past. Gorilla says if Boxcar's father could see him now. Rhythm and Blues wrap up, head off. I could not believe this was solely them singing with no angle, no progression, or no promo. Like, they literally just came out and performed. Any thoughts on this one, Scott?
I forgot that they were calling Valentine Boxcar. That is ridiculous. This is terrible. This gimmick is definitely. I know it's only been barely 6 or 7, 8 months, but it's definitely run its course. This is. So we're that hurting for time that we have to have an SD Iron Mike Sharp match for 11 minutes and this. Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous.
I agree with you. Brother Love, fucking, I don't know, barbershop, I don't know, whatever the hell. Have Beefcake come back and wave with a bunch of bandages on his face. I don't know. Anything would have been better than this. I mean, this is dreadful. What do you think, Kev?
It's just... I really don't have much to say about it. I was waiting for something to happen the entire time, and it just kept going until the end. And Honky just waved, he's like, "Thank you all," and that was it. And I don't know, it was something. It was a treat, like Fink said.
A real treat. I mean, I guess after the last match, it's a treat for sure. Yeah,
that's
much better. All right, at least we pick things up now with a big grudge match as Dusty Rhodes takes on the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. This feud has escalated quickly from SummerSlam through Saturday's main event. A weird entrance for Dusty as he rumbles out looking for revenge. No theme music, no jacket. Just kind of comes out to silence. Ted DiBiase and Virgil attack him as he rolls in, but Dusty fires up and mows them both down in a great flurry that wakes the crowd up. Ted regains his bearings outside, comes in, lands a couple shots, but Dusty mows him down, sends him flying into Virgil with an atomic drop. Dusty pours it on until Virgil hooks his leg. Dusty slides out, gets a sleeper, and that allows Ted to clobber him from behind. Ted kicks away and spikes him to the steps and slides inside. The crowd rallies Dusty as Ted comes back and punches away, chucks him to the railing, shoves him into the post. Back inside, Ted drops some elbows, grabs a sleeper, but Dusty works free with an elbow, gets a small package for 2. Ted cuts him back down and goes to a chin lock. Dusty battles out of that again until Ted punches him in the gut. That basket could hold a lot of bread. Bobby said about Dusty, which made me laugh.
So says D's basket. Held a ton of bread.
Bobby says DiBiase owns 3 of the new skyboxes here in Madison Square Garden. Dusty mounts his comeback and starts to unload with elbows. Virgil ties up the ref. Ted grabs the bell and comes in. But Dusty blocks him, grabs the bell, and smacks DiBiase. But the ref sees that and calls for the DQ. Dusty's all worked up, running rampant, unloads on Virgil, shoves the ref. Ted smashes Dusty with the bell, and him and Virgil walk off as the officials check on Big Dust. Pretty basic, but the heat was good for most of it, and this feud definitely has some legs. So we're going to get a follow-up that should be hotter. Again, I don't mind the DQ, even though this card has been very wonky with the finishes. Kevin went 2.5 on this. Pretty good, next step in the feud.
Yeah, I went 2 stars. It was like the heat, like you said, was great. The fans were into it. They wanted to see DiBiase get his ass kicked. They were behind Dusty. Heenan was hilarious on commentary, but he also had a comment about how Dusty's dad was not a plumber indoors. He had to shovel for outhouses. I like that line a lot. Okay. But overall, I enjoyed it. It wasn't anything crazy, but it was good.
Your match time, 8:46. I actually gave this 3 stars. I actually really liked this match. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was a good battle. Crowd was hot. I thought there was good moving around back and forth. Dusty, for the first time in a while, seemed very motivated, and DiBiase still looking great. I would have maybe added 2 or 3 more minutes to this because I thought they were really telling a good story. And I think the crowd woke up after the pile of the last probably 20 minutes of crap that they've watched just now. Again, like you said, JR, a hot feud right now that's gaining legs. It is Dusty and DiBiase. You got 2, absolute pros, so they're not, they know what they're doing. DiBiase is a guy that you could give some. Why not give DiBiase some house show title shots with Warrior and maybe have Dusty cost him or whatever. I'm just trying to think of anything to give Warrior any kind of value.
I think we nailed it. I think the Warlord Barbarian stuff could have been good.
Yeah.
Obviously Rude was done, Perfect was done. Even DiBiase, I think, is fairly cooked as a challenger. I don't know. Like, I'd rather see him try and battle Barbarian with the Heenan family involved or something like that.
Yeah, this is great though. Dusty's still got plenty of cred. But yeah, solid mid-show main event to kind of get the crowd back into things after the last 20 minutes of dreck we've just had to watch. So, good show to take us in intermission. Or good match. Take us in intermission.
Intermission it is, so we're going to go ahead and take a break. First half of the show in the books. When we return, we'll hear what's going on in the world of pop culture at this point in 1990, and then we'll get to the back end of the show, do our awards, wrap things up. We'll be back in a moment.
Hello, everybody. This is Bruno Lauer. I'm on The Place to Be. You're listening to The Place to Be podcast. You know why? Because it's like Mama says, it be that way sometimes.
Here comes the axe, and here comes the smasher, the demolition, walking disaster, pain and destruction, there's all in a man.
Your face is beaming. You say it's 'cause you're dreaming of how good it's going to be. You say you've been around, and now you finally found.
All right, Nation, we are back talking the October 1990 Madison Square Garden house show in the world of the World Wrestling Federation, WWF. First, though, let's talk about what's going on in the world of PlayStation right here on this PTB and Wrestling feed. And a brand new episode of Jenny and the Gems. The band, the crew, traveled back to March 1994 for the march to WrestleMania 10. Yokozuna, an incredible Randy Savage promo, and so much more. That is a great show. It's worth checking out. Scott, you and Dr. G were back with the newest episode of the NWA Saturday Special, going back to April 2019 in Concord, North Carolina, for the rebirth of the Crockett Cup. Anthony, you want to mention there?
It was a fun show. The doctor and I went through it was good because the main event of last year's show was going to be the main event of this year's show between Nick Aldis and Marty Scurll. And after watching that match, kind of hoping for Crockett Cup this year to come because that match was fantastic. It's on their YouTube channel. take a watch and then listen to the show. It'll get you ready for whenever NWA starts up again. So definitely check it out. It's good.
All right, and you also had the newest main event. Your brother Nate, Steve Willie, discussing the WWE departures, where they may go, as well as the Dark Side of the Ring series, and some classic WCW match picks. Episode 42, Row 1, Seat 1, Benzani, joined by Bradley Prescott IV to discuss his wildlife in independent wrestling. Also, check out the PlayStation Pop feed. Great shows, including the Glenn Butler Podcast Hour Spectacular, Diamond Conversations, it was a thing on TV, the year in pop, Laugh in Theater, The Great Debate, Marvel Age, and much more. Subscribe today. While you're subscribing, we have 2 more feeds to tell you about. The Jenny Position, I mentioned earlier, run by Jennifer Smith, the home of Geek and Sassy Talking Pop, Freak Out Drive-In, Telling Stories, The Journey Through Infinity. Scott, we had our newest episode drop recently, Iron Man 3. Sure to check that out. And, of course, the Brother Sister Rewatch Podcast. Kev, you guys just kicked off Season 6. That dropped today. Did you recap of Season 5? Anything you want to mention about that?
Oh, man, about the Season 6 premiere.
What did you shit on? You could tell us.
I didn't shit on anything. I don't think. I mean, aside from Andy, but that was mostly my sister was crapping on Andy this week more so than me, to be completely honest. No, but the Season 5 wrap-up, we both really enjoyed Season 5. I think out of the 5 seasons we've covered so far, that is my favorite. I think that's the best. The show, I know the show's has a great reputation. People think it's one of the better American shows of the new millennium, pretty much the last 20 years. I can see why people think that, but I think there's also a fair amount of flaws with it, to be honest. I get a lot of heat for saying what I think they are sometimes, but overall, we're a little ahead on recording with Season 6. Right now, we're 8 episodes in, I want to say. And I'm enjoying Season 6 for the most part. So
okay, well, that's good. It's funny because I think when you think of The Office, in your mind, you probably picture, I think a lot of people think Season 2, 3 is probably the peak, right? I mean, this always seems like that's around when shows hit their max. But it's interesting as you were going through 5 and listening to it unfold that they did maybe peak that much later, which I think also helped the longevity of the show, that they were still running pretty hot that far in.
Oh, definitely. Because I checked out around the end of Season 4, beginning of Season 5, when it was on in the, about 10, 12 years ago or whatever. So I this is all new material for me. Mare Bear knows it all. She is a hardcore fan. She can quote the episodes and that. So these are virgin eyes for me watching these episodes. And you're right. I think it hit its peak around the stress relief episode of Season 5. And it's carrying. I mean, I feel like at the end of Season 5 with the Michael Scott Paper Company hit a little bit of a lull where the funny wasn't as pronounced. But Season 6 is starting off pretty strong, I'll be honest. I'm enjoying it still. I don't think it's jumped the shark yet, And
I don't remember if you had mentioned this on that episode or not, but the stress relief aired the night of the Super Bowl, after the Super Bowl. So that's what made that open even more iconic, because I think huge, massive audiences saw that because it aired right after the Super Bowl. They got that slot, and that opening.
Those 5 minutes are just pure chaos and madness. It's probably the best 5 minutes that show ever produced. I'm being completely honest. I loved it. It's so great.
Yeah, they completely nailed the opportunity they had. And Season 6 does have one of my favorite episodes of all time. That is the Scott's Tots.
I did just watch that. I'm not going to give anything away, but that episode is going to be loaded, I think.
It is peak cringe Office.
Oh my god! Yeah. Oh my god! I was just watching it. I was studying it like an art student, just what am I seeing? And it's just trying to drink it in, but
it is rough. All right. So you can check out that show at the Giant Position. So sign up and subscribe. And every Monday that drops. And it's a great listen. It's an easy listen. Usually maybe an hour 15, something like that.
Yeah, we like to keep it kind of short.
Yeah, it's breezy. So definitely high recommendation from me. And I know my Body Press Your Luck co-host, Jordan Duncan, is a big fan as well. So if you can't trust us, who are you going to trust? You can also trust me on the North-South Connection podcast feed. Myself, Chad Campbell, and Aaron George run that. And there's a lot of great shows. We get the Wrestling War Zone. That's me and Chad going through the Monday Night Wars. No Holds Barred, Aaron and myself. All over the place. But right now we are doing monthly Listomanias where we're ranking the pay-per-views from that month in order. Extreme Three-Way Dance, myself, D'Amato, and Jenny going through the history of ECW starting in February 94. We just got into 95. Jeff Learns Wrestling. The Ruthlessly Aggressive podcast. Jake Williams and a different guest every episode going through the post-WrestleMania 18 era, the Ruthless Aggression era. So a lot of cool stuff there. And we just we have shows dropping usually 4 times a week. Aaron George really pumped the content out with the year that was, where he's watched recently or I shouldn't say recently, it took him years, but watched every WWF pay-per-view year, and he's ranking them. So every episode is just a look at that particular year. So he's working from the bottom up. He started with 1995, and now has done 2010, which he considers the 2 worst pay-per-view years in WWF history. You can listen to the metrics behind that. Him and Reg also have From Montreal to Memphis, which drops every other Monday morning, and it's kind of like your morning drive talk show type thing. They just get a random topic and riff on it. The newest one is about Sid. Of course, if you know Aaron, he's a giant Sid mark, so that is worth listening to if you like Sid. Chad Campbell has a couple of solo joints as well. Fighting Spirit of 06, where he's working through the year of 2006 in North American Wrestling, and Carolina Dreamin', where he's doing deep dives into GWCW matches. So tons of content there. If you can follow us, facebook.com/North-South Connection, rate us and review us, sign up on any podcast catcher as well, and we really appreciate it. I think the content is very focused and enjoyable, and like I said, we're pretty consistent. Shows drop at 11 a.m. each and every day, so be sure to peep that. We've also officially kicked off our 2020 stretch project, as you know, determining the greatest WCW match ever. You have until New Year's Eve to do your research, promote your matches, build your list. Lots of conversation at facebook.com/GWCW matches or the Pro Wrestling Only message board as well. And on our social media pages, the greatest junk food of all time tournament has begun. And be sure to vote every day. Of course, we've had successful ones recently with the greatest 80s song, the greatest sports logo, and now the greatest junk food tournament is up and running. Sure to check out PlayStation.com each and every day. New voices, fresh takes, bring you articles on topics of the worlds of wrestling, sports, and pop culture. And of course, if you're doing some shopping, PlayStation.com/Amazon brings you there, helps us out as well. So I've been thinking about something, guys. How much I really love this era of wrestling as a nostalgic point of view. I started watching in the spring of '90, and this time is very fond. And as I go through it, I want to get into this is terrible. The cards are weak. The roster's thin. They're losing ratings, as Herb's talking about. No star power, but I don't have the heart to truly dig in because of what it really means to me as a fan. And also talking about not having heart is James Ingram, and that was the #1 song in the nation this week in 1990. That brings us into Scott Criscolo's Pop Culture Corner.
Thank you, JR. And if that is the #1 song, then pop music in 1990 is about as good as WWF wrestling is. Because listen to this top 10. This is the list that came out the next day. So this was the list that came out on Saturday, October 20th. I Don't Have the Heart by James Ingram was #1. #2, Black Cat by Janet Jackson. #3, Praying for Time by George Michael. #4, Little Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice. Close to You by Maxi Priest at 5. Romeo by Dino at 6. #7, Giving You the Benefit by Pebbles at 7. Everybody by Black Box at 8. What the hell is Black Box? At #9, Can't Stop by After 7. And at #10, Can't Live Without Your Love and Affection by Nelson. Yeah, pop music in 1990, about as good as that Albuquerque house show. So
it's funny because I was, I haven't been listening to as much Sirius radio because I've been driving or going anywhere. But this weekend we were working outside a lot on Saturday, and I'm like, let me check out the countdown and see what year it is. I could throw it on, something to listen to while working. And it was 1990, and I turned it right off. I'm not that interested.
Yeah, no, I had it on too.
It's just a rough year.
Yeah, no, it's pretty ugly. So there's your top 10, and James Ingram is at #1. Let's get a quick look at the top 10 movies at the box office on this week in 1990. At #10, Pacific Heights, which was that was an interesting turn for Michael Keaton. He went from being the big baby face in Batman a year earlier to being a scumbag heel in that movie.
I prefer Pacific Blue.
What's that? Oh, Pacific, yes. Hey, Kevin remembers Pacific Blue. He's an Attitude Era guy.
Oh, I remember Sable on there. Are you kidding?
Oh, yeah. At #9, Goodfellas, which is probably one of the best movies of the year, making $31 million at that point. Mr. Destiny at #8. Night of the Living Dead at #7. That was the remake. #6, Fantasia, which was re-released. At #5, Avalon. #4, Ghost, up to $173 million at this point. #3, Quigley Down Under, which is debuting. That was Tom Selleck, kind of a Indiana Jones knockoff, and it was definitely a knockoff. #2, Memphis Belle, and #1, my man, Steven Seagal, and Marked for Death. was number one before Steven Seagal, became the Steven Seagal everybody knows now. So, speaking of marked for death, let's not mark anything for death, but let's mark the hash marks. It's time to take the field.
All right, so through two trips through the NFL picks, I trail the guests by one. Right now I am down 18-17. This will be our third outing.
Not too bad through the first couple weeks. Kev, who was your NFL team?
Denver Broncos.
Ah, okay. Well, we'll be talking about them. They'll be our second pick in. It is week 7 we'll do today, which was the Sunday after this show, so October 21st. So this is week 7 of the 1990 NFL season. So let's jump right in. We begin at the Orange Bowl in Miami, where the Dolphins host the New England Patriots. JR.
I will take Miami.
Okay.
The Dolphins.
Dan Marino throws for 245. Dolphins win 17-10. Let us go to the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis, where Kev, your Denver Broncos, take on the Colts.
Oh, it's got to be Broncos.
Yeah, I'll take Denver as well.
John Elway throws for 317. Broncos win 27-17. They, of course, are the defending AFC champions after they got trucked in Super Bowl 24 by the Niners. Let us go to Rich Stadium in Buffalo, where Mr. Rozzero's Jets take on the Buffalo Bills. JR.
I'll go with Jim Kelly and the Bills.
Kev?
Buffalo.
Jim Kelly throws for 297. Bills win 30-27. And just to kind of let you know what offenses we're running here, the high rusher of the game was Freeman McNeil, 48 yards. As it tells you who was slinging the ball in that game. Again, Kelly threw for 297. Bills win by a field goal. Let's go to RFK Stadium in our nation's capital. The Redskins hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. Kev?
Eagles.
JR?
I'll go with the Skins.
Randall Cunningham throws for 220, but the Redskins eke out a defensive battle, 13-7. Let's go down to the Sombrero, the big Sombrero in Tampa, where we are supposed to be, JR. Where the Buccaneers host the Dallas Cowboys, JR.
Oh, God. This is. Well, I think we talked about it. Dallas was okay. I don't think Tampa. I'll go with the Cowboys.
Okay. Kev?
When in doubt, go with the creamsicle uniforms.
The creamsicle uniforms kick ass. Vinny Testaverde threw for 271, but Cowboys win 17-13. Let's go to the Astrodome in Houston. The Oilers host the New Orleans Saints, Kev.
Oilers.
Yeah, I'll take Houston.
Okay. And the Oilers do indeed win 23-10. Let's go to Candlestick Park in San Francisco. The defending world champion 49ers hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kev. Oh, no, sorry, JR, you're first.
San Francisco.
Okay. Kev?
49ers.
Super Joe throws for 157, but he doesn't need to do much. Niners win 27-7. Let's go to the Kingdome in Seattle. The Seahawks hosting the Kansas City Chiefs, Kev.
I'm going to go with the Seahawks.
Yeah, me too.
Yep. Steve DeBerg throws for 213 for the Chiefs, but the Seahawks win another defensive battle. A lot of defense in this this week. 19-7, the final. Let us go to the Murph, Jack Murphy Stadium out in San Diego, the Superchargers, and the LA Raiders. JR.
I'll take the Raiders.
Okay. Kev?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Raiders.
And the Raiders indeed win 24-9. One of the greatest names in NFL history, rushed for 76 yards, Marion Butts for the Chargers. All right, let's go to Anaheim for the Rams as they host the Atlanta Falcons, Kev.
I'm going to go with the Falcons.
All right, JR.
I'll take the Rams.
Jim Everett throws for 302. Rams win big, 44-24.
Damn.
Let's go to the Meadowlands, Giant Stadium for Mr. D'Amato's G-Men as they host the Phoenix Cardinals, JR.
I will take the Giants.
Okay. Kev?
Giants.
Jeff Hostetler throws for $180. I don't think Phil Simms was hurt yet, but the Giants win 20-19, and I'm pretty sure they were undefeated at this point. And Monday night in Cleveland, the Browns host the Cincinnati Bengals in the Battle of Slow-Ohio. Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Bengals.
Fair.
It was at Cincy, you said?
No, it was in Cleveland.
All right, I'll take the Browns.
Okay. Bernie does throw for 190, but the Bengals win big. 34-13.
All right, I think that was my only incorrect one for the week. Not bad.
Very good.
So 11-9 is the final there, and I am up one on our guests who have all got 9 3 straight weeks.
There you go. So, okay, so there you go. Week 7. Kev, nice job. Your first time out.
I gave it the old college try.
Gave it the college try.
Yeah, you did good.
No NBA because the season hasn't started yet. We did have 6 games in the NHL. Sabres-Penguins played to a 4-4 tie. Bruins got pummeled in Edmonton 8-1 by the Oilers. Whalers lost out in LA 5-2 to the Kings. Devils beat the Rangers 3-2 in Jersey. Winnipeg beat Vancouver 7-5. And the Islanders lost in Washington 4-3. Blackhawks lead the Norris early on in the season. Blackhawks and Red Wings are actually tied. Kings lead the Smythe. The Whalers lead the Adams. How about that? By a point over the Bruins and Canadians. And the Devils lead the Patrick by a point over the Rangers and Flyers. And that is your Pop Culture Corner. Back to the Garden.
The Garden is where we head. Yep. Sean Mooney is in the event center, hyping up next month's card. We get hype promos from Earthquake and Jimmy Hart, Hulk Hogan, Sergeant Slaughter and General Adnan, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Mooney then throws it to Lord Al with a pissed-off Dusty Rhodes. He says things have gotten personal. DiBiase and Virgil are good at buying people with dirty money and ganging up. Him and his son are going to bring his, and he's going to bring his big boy with him. And Ted and Virgil will be in for a whipping. Al's then with DiBiase and Virgil. Ted's all laughs, says beating up 2 peons is better than 1. Nothing will change with Dusty bringing Dustin to the ring. Dustin has already been laid out once with his head busted open. It'll happen again in the Garden. Virgil's a well-paid bodyguard. He can handle himself. Both Rhodes boys will be laying there. Dustin will be begging Daddy for help. So really hyping that.
I like the way he said that. Begging Daddy. The way he said that.
Begging Daddy out there. That'll be the big selling point. Part of it anyway for next month. Back to action as we have a returning appearance here. I think we talked about him last show as well, but was he on our last one? I'm sorry.
No,
he was not. Actually,
no, he wasn't. We were alluding to it, but you can officially make the announcement here.
We can, because the return after 2-year absence from Madison Square Garden and from the WWF of the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. Of course, him and Dynamite faded away in late 1988 and returned to Stampede, worked some All Japan. They ended up splitting up and having a feud. Davey Boy is actually in a really bad car accident on July. What is it with July 4th car accidents? Him and Chris Benoit, Ross Hart, and Jason the Terrible in a serious automobile accident. Needed 135 stitches after slamming his head through the windshield. He recovered. They teamed some more. And then Smith basically bailed on All Japan and returned solo to WWF, which really caused a major fracture in the relationship, as has been documented since, when he basically just took a singles deal and left his old tag team partner in the dust and made his return. And let's see if we can get an official return date for him. Looks like he was back on October 6th was his return against Haku in Springfield, Mass., then in Boston, Mass., and then he pretty much works Haku and Paul Diamond around there. His TV return against the Brooklyn Brawler was on October 27th, Superstars. So here he is taking on Haku. He gets a big pop as he comes back. He's jacked. He's ready to roll. Big addition to the upper mid card. Gorilla says he's packed on 20 to 25 pounds. And reignition of a classic tag feud, by the way, guys. The British Bulldogs and the Islanders. So they split up here. In battle, Lord Al's in the booth. Says Bulldog has a tremendous assignment tonight. We start with straightforward, some arm work. As we trade some control, Bulldog drives Haku to the floor with a dropkick. He's looking so strong here. Bulldog is dominant as he slams Haku hard to the mat. Al says Bobby can't be happy about the performance of the family today. Gorilla jokes about the family squabbling as Bulldog grabs a sleeper and then releases and starts to batter the arm. Bobby looks miserable at ringside as Bulldog is pounding away at Haku. Haku blocks a monkey flip with an attempt on an inverted atomic drop. Haku works him over with some basic strikes. Bulldog gets a pair of near flash falls, but Haku's able to keep him grounded. Hits a nasty power driver for 2 that gets a big reaction from the crowd and Gorilla. Haku gets 2 after a knee to the gut. Stomps him some more with a chin lock. Haku goes to the eye after cutting off another comeback. He throws Davey over the top to the floor. Al wonders why Davey chose his tough opponent tonight for his return. Gorilla says he signed an open contract. That's what happens. Davey crawls back inside as Haku sends him flying with a wild backdrop for 2. Some really high-impact offense here. Haku hooks a camel clutch, and he uses Davey's braids in a nasty spot, yanks on them. Haku rakes the back and bites. He's getting nasty now. Goes to a sleeper, but Davey powers out, gets to his feet, and rams into the corner to break the hold. Haku cuts him off again with a hard whip to the corner, chokes away. Davey gets dumped outside where Bobby lands a kick. Davey slides back in, hits a nasty back suplex for an eventual 2 count. Both guys hit the ropes and collide. They both get up, but Davey gets control, twists Haku to a Scorpion Deathlock to a big pop there. Haku gets the rope to force the break. Both guys start trading blows. Both are dragging as it ebbs and flows. Haku lands a pair of headbutts and tries a hard chop to Davey, and he hits a big shoulder breaker for 2 as Davey stays alive. Bulldog dodges a drop kick and fires up, hitting a huge backdrop and a perfect vertical suplex for 2. Haku tries to leap over Davey, but he catches him and hits a power slam for the win and huge pop. And this is a sneaky fun match. A lot of bombs woven in, some good psychology and body work. It was a little slow in spots, but it felt like it was edging toward a draw as well until we got the good, clean, hard-fought finish. Quality match, a strong return win for Bulldog. He took a shit-kicking, picked up the win. Haku has a nice showing. Normally, you may say, should Bulldog maybe have been the guy that fought like Brawler or one of those guys to just get a squash win? But I like that they gave him a challenge, let him show off and work and show that he could still go. We already know what he can do. It's not like him taking some offense is a bad thing. So he hasn't been gone that long. So I think this is a really good showing. Haku looks good. You know, Scott, we've talked about where the good Haku matches, right? As a solo, we get one here. So I went 3 stars. What'd you think of this one?
I agree 100%. Your match time, I was stunned when I saw the match time before it started. 1934.
Yeah, so it definitely felt like they were going to a draw.
Yeah, they were. I mean, as you can tell, they were barely 25 seconds shy of hitting it. Based on Mr. Land and Mr. Cawthon, it looks like this is Davey Boy's first Garden appearance since SummerSlam 88. I don't think they were here after. I don't think the Bulldogs came back after that. So this is his first Bulldogs' first trip inside the building since SummerSlam 88. So over 2 years. Yeah, there was nothing light here. I mean, these two were throwing bombs. I mean, this was power on power. A lot of fun. Bulldog definitely wanted to show that he could be a solo guy, you know. Crowd was really hot. Gorilla and Bobby were getting into it. It was really great. And you're right, JR. It just finally took the right opponent for Haku to get into that gear that we seem to see him just miss on a ton of matches here over the last several years. This was great. A lot of fun, Kev. This is a power match. 2 guys, you got pile drivers and bulldogs and just potatoes all over. I mean, just a fun match where 2 guys could just hit each other, and it wasn't sloppy. It wasn't slow. I think I gave this 3. Let me just switch my page here. I think I gave this 3. I did 3.5 stars. Yeah, no joke here. This was a ton of fun and a good showcase for Bulldog, and actually a good showcase for Haku too.
Yeah, I gave this one 3 stars, and it's funny because it was like a roller coaster. It started off really slow, and I was taking into account like Haku as a singles wrestler, and I was like, "Oh God, this is going to drag, isn't it?" And then it just kept building, and like I'm a big Davey Boy Smith mark. I think when we did the GWWE list, I put him in my top 20.
Oh wow!
Because I think he's great. Like tag team singles, he's got power, agility, and I mean he was doing it with the flips in this match and the power moves, like the selling. Like he's just great. He's just a great wrestler, and I just really enjoyed it. Everything about it was great. The pile driver spot was fantastic, where Haku just dropped him, and it was just a great match that built up. And Davey was a hot baby face. I just loved it. This was a beacon in a pile of crap on this show. And I just really, maybe by comparison, I loved it so much more, but it just stuck out because, like I said, in the beginning, I was a little wary of it, but as it built, I got really into it.
Yeah, no, I did too. And I love that it seemed like it was going to head to a draw and then Bulldog wins clean. Because we didn't need a Bulldog draw for his return match, but it is something they would have done maybe. You know, we've seen it at times where they wean a guy in, especially against a name guy. But this is good, and Haku get to shine as well. So it's cool they gave him some time and let him work. And why not? I mean, you got the time and the space on this card. So, yeah, it was really good. We're getting a Survivor Series promo piece and then head back to the ring. for a match that probably won't be as good as our last one, as Dino Bravo takes on Tugboat. Dino's all smiles as usual. Solo tonight. Runs in circles like a dipshit, as always. Big grudge match here as Tugboat chugs out. Bobby says he'd rather have no friends than Tugboat as a friend. Bravo and his huge HGH gut attack at the bell. Slug away as Tugboat comes back with a clothesline and atomic drop. Dino bails out. The crowd has already checked out on this. Gorilla surprised Jimmy Hart's not here. Wonders if he's actually hanging around in drag. Odd comment. Dino offers knuckle lock. We get some pathos around that until they lock up with Dino controlling briefly before Tugboat overpowers him. Tugboat slams Bravo but misses an elbow. Bobby says Tugboat's come a long way, but he's still dumb. Bravo goes to a chin lock as he puts everyone to sleep. Gorilla starts plugging the November MSG show as this drags along. Bravo clubs away some more. It's a pretty nice inverted atomic drop for 2. Bravo mares him over, goes back to the chin lock. Tugboat eventually powers up. He eats a boot on a charge. Bravo slams him in a cool spot. That even impressed Gorilla. That might be the best thing Bravo's ever done. Slam a Tugboat. Bravo celebrates. Tugboat clobbers him. From behind, he drops a splash, but Bravo gets to the ropes. Bravo knees Tugboat to the floor, but Dino won't let him back in. Bobby says Tugboat smells like an old shrimp boat as Dino keeps stomping on him. Keeps him outside, and the ref eventually DQs Bravo for his antics. Tugboat comes in and slugs Dino to the floor, and they stare down forever after. And fuck that finish. I mean, how awful. Why can't Bravo job here? Or have him cheat to win? This is something. Why do we get another DQ on this card? Slow and sluggish, 1 or 2 worthwhile spots, and the crowd just hated it. They were gone from the minute it started. This whole card, you could have had the same guys on this card and still kept it moving a little bit better. Just let Tugboat squash someone if Bravo's not going to job. But half a star, Kev. That's all I got.
I gave it 1 just because, a lot of it's due to Dino slamming Tugboat, to be honest. That was kind of impressive. Yeah. That kind of stuck out. But I mean, Tug job is just like the worst. Like his look, the way he comes out, he's dressed like a Little Rascals character, and he's got that dumb mullet. Like Fred Ottman is just such an ass. Like he looks like such an ass in this outfit. Like he comes out and toot and everything about the Tugboat character. It's like it makes beaver cleavage look dignified as far as I'm concerned. Like I just hate Tugboat. It's just, I don't know. This just didn't work at all. It was just bad.
Dusty hated Tugboat too. He's a master of the masculines. I gave this. I was going to give this a dud, but I couldn't really do it. There's not many things. I mean, this match was a scoosh better than fucking SD and Iron Mike, and I gave that a dud. I gave this half a star. Your match time is 8:28, which also seemed kind of long. I mean, whatever. It is what it is. Bravo. You can almost say that Bravo at this point, even he's starting to get a little cooked. Earthquake is the hotter character, even after SummerSlam. If you don't have Bravo with him, nobody gives a shit anymore. You know what I mean? And this shows it. I mean, this is garbage. And I mean, we're gonna do the awards in a bit. We may need to start doing we have the Juiced Award. We might need to get the bloated water gut award because Bravo gets both, because he's just, I mean, you pop him and he'll just drown in his own juice. It's ugly. It's fucking ugly. I think Kev, you're a little harsh on Tugboat. And poor guy, he's trying his hardest.
No, dude, I like going back and watching old stuff. Fred. It's just so sad sometimes. I'm just watching this guy come out and he's it just doesn't work, man. Like usually I find stuff like that endearing sometimes, but the Tugboat is just not one of them.
He just needed a different name or look, anything,
Like, why did he have to come out dressed like a 1930s sailor with the hat and everything? Like,
it's an odd choice.
It's like they literally tried to make him Bluto from Popeye,
Well, per the Kunze Tidbits, he was supposed to be Bronto originally, so they went from the Flintstones to fucking Sinbad or whatever.
That would have been fun if he came out wearing a bearskin rug or something, like a caveman. I would have been down with that. Jesus.
He could have wore a fuzzy vest and a stormtrooper. Oh wait, never mind. No, this is probably there's not much more you can glean out of this. But
and he looked good, Scott. Remember that? I think it was December '89 one where he debuted. He looked like a beast. Remember he came out, he was kind of jacked up, and he just destroyed some guy. Tugboat.
Yeah, he was actually a little thinner. Remember he had the blue? He actually looked a little trimmer for Tugboat speaking.
They should have just kept the Thomas name too. Tugboat Thomas is fine because then it's a nickname for a big guy versus actually making him a Tugboat.
I was gonna bring that up actually because I remember like that debut episode you guys covered, and like his name is just Tugboat now,
right?
And like just give him the name. Like it's kind of like what they do now, where they take away guys, first names or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it just doesn't work.
No, yeah, it's odd. It's an odd name and a stupid match. I mean, a dumb finish. Like Bravo again, still not jobbing. We're almost done with Bravo, Scott. We're almost there. Sean Mooney in the Event Center runs down the card from November again, and that brings us to our final match of the night. Has the Hart Foundation defend their tag team titles against Rhythm and Blues. Not a very inspiring closing match to save this card. No. Rhythm and Blues dance out again. They hit the ring. We get a nice pop for the Hearts, but the crowd is completely burned out. We stall a bit before going with the Hearts working over Hammer. They have nice tights on tonight. They're all pink with some sharp black and white edging. Yes. Anvil gets distracted by Honky, gets knocked down by Hammer, who starts to focus on the midsection. We get 2. Rhythm and Blues work some tags, batter the gut of the Anvil, as Gorilla and Bobby argue about SummerSlam. Anvil comes back with a bear hug, but Hammer breaks it up with a knee to the back. Honky grabs a chancery. Rhythm and Blues run some confusion. They double team and get some near falls. The double teams and trickery continue. This feels like we're going through the motions big time. The whole show has, honestly. Anvil comes out of the corner, drops Hammer with a big shot, makes a tag. Brett cleans house on both guys. The crowd wakes up a bit for him. He rolls through the pin covers before they keep getting broken up. Things break down. Hammer grabs a guitar but hits Honky by accident, and Brett covers for the win. And again, like another stupid finish on none of them. I know the crowd loved it, but why can't the Hearts win cleanly, and then you do the guitar spot? So maybe Hart gets a clean pin on Hammer, and then Hammer gets the guitar and hits Honky by accident. Something. Like, why do we have to win like that? Let the champs go over strong. Pedestrian tag, not something to close this show out that needed saving. And a real boring night of action. This match is mediocre. The roster division is suddenly on life support. We've talked about it. Tag division is not doing well. It's very, very thin, just like the rest of the card. So I went 2 stars on this, Scott. As paint by numbers, as mediocre as it can get. And we needed something more to maybe save this thing.
Yeah, I gave this 2 stars as well. Your match time, and here's what the problem is. We give 10:56 to fucking fat fuck SD Jones and stupid Iron Mike Sharp, and your World Tag Team Champions get 6:10? That's it? 6:10?
I wonder if we're supposed to go longer and they were just running out of maybe curfew or something, and they just had to go home.
Because, I mean...
Or they knew the crowd was asleep, so they said, fuck it.
Maybe. I mean, I understand Rhythm and Blues is not, top of the food chain right now, but fuck, if you give these guys another 5 minutes, they might have told a decent story. I mean, it is Brett and the Anvil. They're not doing too bad. The whoever formatically put this show together in the back fucking should be fired, because this is garbage. Every fucking finish is I mean, 2/3 of the finishes tonight are DQs or contested pinfalls. Like, what the fuck? Like, who are you trying to put over? Like, this is ridiculous. It's a fucking regional house show. Get some clean finishes and move on. This isn't Saturday night's main event, for Christ's sakes. I mean, let's get some clean finishes here. It's ridiculous. I don't understand why do half these matches need to have DQs and contested pinfalls, and it makes no sense. Why can't your World Tag Team Champions get a clean win? They're the fucking tag team champions. I don't understand. Why are you protecting Boxcar Valentine, for God's sakes? I mean, Jesus Christ, come on. It's ridiculous. I mean, utterly ridiculous. And you give this match maybe 4 more minutes, and it probably would have been half bad. But like you said, JR, they're probably running out of time. The clock's ticking. The union wants them out of the fucking building. So they rush through it, and it's crap. I mean, I don't know. Whoever was in charge of this show should be fired, because it was a mess, Kev. An absolute mess. And you got a decent amount of talent on this show. You got to fill some holes with some shit, but you got your World Tag Team Champions here, and you kind of like rush them out the door. Terrible. Not good at all.
Yeah, 2 title matches on this show, actually. It's kind of funny to think about.
And they're both end poorly.
Yeah. But I gave this one 2 stars. I thought, like, for what they had to work with, they did decent enough job. Like, just watching, I was like, okay, it flew by, of course. It was only 6 minutes, but, like, it wasn't anything embarrassing. There's 4 pros trying to do what they could in 6 minutes, and that's pretty much all you can say about it, really.
For sure.
Rough ending.
Very rough ending to a very rough show. Sorry you had to suffer through this one, Kev.
No, it was all right. It was all good for that Davey Boy match.
This is when we affectionately call a Sheriff Pete special. So there you go.
All right, match of the night. I think we all agree on this one. Bulldog versus Haku.
Pretty easy.
Never thought you'd say that. Cousin Jr. for the worst match of the night. Again, I'm guessing we're all in unison with Iron Mike Sharp versus SD Jones.
Of course.
It's funny, JR, in the span of 2 weeks, Haku went from having the worst match to the best match in our awards.
Good for him.
There's an upgrade.
All right. Star of the night. I went the British Bulldog. I thought he looked great in his debut. Put on a really good match, or I should say return. He looked strong, looked great. The crowd is into him, so I like that. You guys agree?
I definitely think SD Jones looked great for his IC title number one. Oh, no, I can't even pretend to say that. Yeah, Bulldog looked awesome tonight.
Okay. I went with a co-winner for the Frenchie Martin Award for the worst workers of the night, and that is SD Jones and Iron Mike Sharp.
Yeah, pretty much.
Definitely.
Although Dino and Tugboat come pretty close, but
Dino hit that slam. Come on.
That's true. Dino saved it.
Amazingly enough, Dino Bravo is winning my best moment of the night. That tells you what a fucking awful card this is. But
yeah,
Dino Bravo slamming Tugboat was my best moment. It was the crowd gorilla, like everyone was super into it when he did it.
Yeah, I got to go with that. It's not often that we, once in a while you make chicken salad out of chicken shit or whatever the hell it is. And Dino Bravo mostly is chicken shit in the ring, but he got a diamond here quickly.
I actually went with Kerry with that 20-second long the count when he kicked out at 2.
Oh yeah. I
went with that.
That was a good one too. Those are probably those are easily the two best highlights of the night for sure.
No, I agree.
All right. The only one's going to have a clean sweep in the awards. We're so close. All right. Warrior Award for the most jacked, juiced up guy. I thought Warlord was an easy choice on this one.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. No, Bravo's the most bloated, but Warlord was the most jacked.
And Mike Sharp is getting the Triple Crown for me tonight. I gave him the worst hair award.
Yeah, it's bad.
I actually went with Davey. I just
you don't like the braids?
Bo Derek. No, I'm not a fan of the braids. It's the one chink in his armor, man.
All right.
Yeah, no, Mike Sharp's hair was pretty awful.
And the final grade, I would say we saw a card just about as bad as this back in April. And I'm going to go with that grade I gave that night, and that is a 3 out of 10.
In April, I gave it a 4. I gave the April show a 4.5. This show is not 4.5. I'll be honest with you. You're going to think I'm nuts. The Bulldog Haku match is a full point. If that match was not on the show, I was giving this a 2. That's how horrendous this fucking show is. But this card is just a drizzler. Yeah. And Bulldog and Haku save it. I'm even going to boost an extra half point. So I'm going to give it 3.5. Otherwise, this show is a 2.
And you do get the Gorilla and Bobby commentary, which always helps. Like, thankfully, they were doing the show.
DiBiase and Dusty wasn't that bad.
Good. And Perfect Tornado was good, too.
Yeah, but I mean, the bad was unwatchably bad.
Yeah,
everything outside of those.
Trash. Yeah.
I gave it a 3.5.
Okay. All right.
Because everything outside of those 3 matches was just dreadful for the most part.
This might be one of the worst shows I think we've ever watched. I mean, this is bad.
Oh, that bad, really?
I feel like some of those Pete ones. Wait, let me look back quick. I feel like the end of 87 or 86, it was like a real bad one. Yeah, December 87. You gave it 2, I gave it 3, and Pete gave it 2.5.
December 86, I gave it 2, you gave it 2.5, Pete gave it 2.
Yeah, so that's a bad one too. Those December shows were rough.
I gave the January 87 a 2.5, but then the February I gave
87 is bad too. Yeah, there's a bunch of bad ones. This is up there though.
Yeah, this is pretty cool.
So we'll be back 2 weeks from tonight with the Survivor Series showdown with another debuting guest. And then a month from tonight, we will have Survivor Series 1990 to round out the pay-per-view year that was 90. So we look forward to that. Scott, what else you got going on this week?
We've got a ton going on. Later this week, we will have a new episode of The Main Event. Myself, Steve, and Nate. We will talk about anything going on in wrestling. Probably preview Money in the Bank. We'll talk Impact Rebellion. That went on this past weekend. Talk about some other news and notes and our next classic TNA pay-per-view recap. Then this weekend on the next episode of the NWA Saturday Special, another pod that I'd like to we're going to envelop into the GWCW project. The Doctor and I will start talking some matches, but we're going to cut it in half because we are technically the NWA. We're only going to talk matches between 1981 and 1991. So I mentioned it on the Place to Be Nation Main Event Facebook page. I'll put it on the regular Facebook page too. If you have any ideas for a couple of matches you'd like the Doctor and I to talk about, We don't care if it's two of the same guy, two of the same year, two of the same show, whatever you want us to talk about. We'll pick some, but we're only doing between 1981 and 1991. Also on the Place to Be Wrestling Network this week, we're going to have a new episode of the Great Debate Wrestling. Mm-hmm. Andy Atherton's going to drop that this week. Ben Zani will be back with another episode of Row 1, Seat 1, so check that out. And, I believe our buddies from on the other side of the pond, we might have our next episode of Special Relations this week, possibly. So stay tuned for that as well. So a lot of good stuff over on the Place to Be Wrestling Network. You can follow me on Twitter at PTB Podfather for all the fun and games. So there you go. Busy week.
All right, a lot going on at the North-South as well. I mentioned it earlier today. We had the newest from Montreal to Memphis. Aaron and Reg broke down the man that is Sid. On Wednesday, we have a new Carolina Dreamin'. Chad will be looking at more GWCW matches from the early to mid-'80s. Thursday, Chad again will be back with me with a new Wrestling Warzone, looking at Uncensored 1996 with the big Tower of Doom match. So we had a lot to say about that. And then a new No Holds Barred comes at you Saturday as well. So a pretty stocked week there. And next week on this very feed, we'll have a new Body Press Your Luck as well. So a couple of new contenders for
looking forward to that.
Ryan Everett. Looking forward to that as always. Kev, anything you want to mention further about the Brosis?
Every Monday you can find us on the Jenny Position. Right now we're just starting season 6 of a rewatch of The Office. We started at the pilot and we are going right through to the finale. So every Monday on the Jenny Position, you can find me and my sister Mare Bear just talking about Michael Scott, Jim Halpert, and the rest.
Good takes, bad takes, hot takes, shit takes. They're all there.
Oh, there's a lot of shit takes.
They're all there.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me, by the way. Long-time listener. I appreciate coming on and just talking old wrestling.
Oh, it's good to have you on, Kev.
Yeah, it's a great show. Happy to have you here. We'll have you on again soon. And we'll be back in 2 weeks.
Before you go any further, I want to compliment you, sir. Your tournament that you're posting on your Twitter.
Oh, yes, that's right.
JT the Pod Guy. I've enjoyed the tournament. Just to clarify, it's the WrestleMania non-main event matches, correct?
Yes. So Aaron and I. So there's an actual bracketology show out there. We're nearing the end. The tournament will wrap up this week. If you follow me on Twitter at JT the Pod Guy, I have 2 polls a day. We went through every Mania and picked the best match from each Mania that wasn't the main event. Because we already did a wrestling main event tournament, or WrestleMania main event tournament, I should say. So we're into the round 3 right now. So again, it's going to complete this week. And on No Holds Barred Saturday, we're doing another bracketology show for the next tournament that'll kick off soon on my Twitter. So we're going to keep rolling out some bracketology shows and new tournaments, keep the interaction going. So follow us at follow me at JT the Pod Guy for those brackets go up usually every day around 10 a.m. or so. I put those up between 9 and 10 a.m. Eastern, and you get the votes in. Today we had a good turnout for today. The matchups were Ultimate Warrior versus Randy Savage at WrestleMania 7, took on Daniel Bryan versus Triple H at WrestleMania 30, and then Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker at 25 against Brett versus Owen at 10. So we're getting down to the nitty gritty. I believe those are the last couple of matchups around 3, so we'll be into the Final 4 soon. So keep an eye out on that. And then, of course, on Saturday...
It's a lot of
fun. And I appreciate you bringing it up. On Saturday, No Holds Barred will reveal the next tournament that's coming with the full bracket selection show. All right, so with that said, Facebook.com/PlaceToBeNation and follow us on Twitter. Like we just mentioned, our names there. Check out the Jenny Position and the North-South Connection as well. For Scott, for Kevin, I am Justin. We're out. Talk to you in 2 weeks. Goodbye.
Baby.
not cold. And if the wind is right, you can sail away and find serenity. Oh, the canvas can do